Well, hello everyone. This is Cyber Power of Tigray. While our audience trickles in, as you all know, my favorite guest tonight is back again, Mangustap from Cali, representing California, San Diego in particular.
Salam, Kubrat
So
Hate.
I'm gonna let you jump in.
Salam, Kubrat Hate. Jaganu Tegaru. Patoti Tegaru. How are you guys doing, man? My brothers and sisters.
All right. So I'm gonna let you take the show over here. So look, we're gonna do our thing. We're just gonna like rumble around for a couple minutes to let the people jump in. So ንኩልኩም ኣሕዋት ትሳተፉና ዘለኹም እዚ ዕላማና እዚዩ ብትግርኛ ዘይንገብሮ ዘለና ምክንያት ትግርኛ ኣናኢስና ኣይኮነን። ትግርኛ ብደንቢ ንክእል ንዛረብ ሰባት ኢና። ግን ካብኡ ከዓን ኣሕዋትና ዓለም ዘለው ተጋሩ መናእሰይ ኣብ ስደት ተወለዱና ኣብ ስደት ዝዓበዩ ቋንቋታት ትግርኛ ብደንቢ ዘይኽእሉ ንኣቶም ክነመሓይሸሎም እዩ ብእንግሊዝኛ መብዛሕትኡ ነመሓላልፎና ሕውስ ሕውስ እናበልና ትግርኛም ክንውስኸልኩም ኢና። ስለዚ ቂረ ይበልኩም። To the audience, welcome to Cyber Power of Tigray. I just express and explain my respect and appreciation to our native language Tigrinya. I let our viewers who are Tigrinya speaking to understand the purpose behind it, why we are broadcasting in English. We have tremendous ground soldiers, I guess I can call them, or grassroots young Tegaru and Tigray supporters in the diaspora that are either grew up in the diaspora or were born in the diaspora. So to cater to that audience, for us to work with them and explain to them the heinous crime committed in Tigray against civilians, we must express and explain the atrocity that has been committed by the Eritreans and by the Ethiopians and now by the Somalians, as we know. So as a result of that, we will continue primarily to air this show in English. We will, however, do our best to include and add some Tigrinya during our discussion. So I look forward in having an amazing discussion with my brother, Mangustap, who actually is ready to fight for human rights, justice for Tegaru, and Tegaru Lives Matter. He's ready. We have some videos that we're going to show you, some atrocity that have occurred, and we are hopeful that the Biden administration and the Harris and the Biden administration will do the right thing, which is we should not allow genocide on our watch by an evil man who believed that he was going to become a king. He wants to be a puppet of Saudi Arabia or some of those dictator kings that does not exist in Ethiopia. Ethiopia does not have king. Ethiopia will not have a king. But regardless about Ethiopia, which I can care less, this is about Tigray people. The people of Tigray are being choked to death. They're dying. So, Mangustap, take over, buddy. I'm going to turn my music down now, or turn it off, actually. So I'll let you take over.
Thank you, Mike. So I wrote a lot of notes here, thinking that the program would be in Tigrinya, but it's no issue because I could easily translate it to English.
We're going to do both.
There.
But
Okay.
primarily, we're going to try to keep it in English, but we're going to throw Tigrinya also because we definitely have a lot of Tigrinya-speaking audience.
I feel you. So I've organized my notes based on so far the positives and the negatives up to date. I've also organized it tracking all the global news. Global, I mean the UK, the UN, the EU, and the USA in terms of their support or of their knowledge of the situation in Tigray. So, what do you think? Should we start with positive, negatives first, a little bit?
Um, well, so I think all that sounds good to me. Let's kind of tell the
Yeah,
audience what inspire you to work at this and to organize what you have organized. But why? Why are young Tagars like you and many young Tagars around the world rising up, doing the right thing, which is exposing the danger that 4.5 million people in Tigray are in immediate needs of humanitarian assistance. And anyway, so talk about motivation.
yeah.
What is driving the young Tagaro?
I think it's built in our blood. Something that came down from our parents, whether we know the language or not. For us to feel the danger, and the situation that our people back home are in. Um, it's basically, I mean, every diaspora Tigrayan has extended family in Tigray, so we're directly affected. When we see our parents call back home or cannot call back home, and their emotions on their face is something that we can see up front. And I just feel like Tegarus, in particular, within the groups of Ethiopian ethnics, care more about their people. And I'm sorry, because you don't see the other group, diasporans, particularly among the youth, protesting with us. You don't. Um, we don't have many Eritreans. We have a couple here and there. We certainly don't have the Amharic and the other nations protesting with us. So I think something that's very special within the Tagaru youth is that they can feel the pain, very passionate about their people back home, and this is something that's just built in our blood and something that we just inherit from our parents.
Very good. And so Amharic is a language. Amhara are the mixed folks in the Amhara region of Ethiopia. So I don't want them to throw a jab at you. So the difference between the Amharic speaking people, which is Amharic, the language Amharic, and Amhara being sort of the ethnic. But I had a brother like a couple days ago. He just clarified even more than I didn't realize that actually there's not a true Amhara. They're just like a bunch of divided
No.
group. But I'm not going to waste my time on that. They're killers. They came to kill our youth in Tigray, and the massacre that's been going on is ridiculous. Um, so let's try to jump in some of the segments, and then I've got some clips that I'm going to be showing to the audience. But I'll let you jump in if you want to start off, like with if you want to go back and forth a little Tigrinya, but the majority we're going to try to do it in English.
Okay, I'm just going to quickly touch on the positives and negatives. I'll start with the positives. Um, I want to reiterate that on all the battlefronts, we are continuing to wipe out the enemy. The invading force is losing. Um, we are capturing a lot of soldiers. We've killed a lot of soldiers, and we're also capturing them with their military arsenal. So, in this past week, since we've met last week, there's plenty of videos surfacing on the web. As you can see, um, just hundreds of soldiers walking down the street with no shoes, with no weapons, and a bunch of our people rallying around our troops and taking videos and making fun of these just these animals who come to a free land and try to take our sovereignty and commit all these heinous crimes on us for no apparent reason. The people of Tigray have done nothing to anybody. If you want to have any beef with our political party, then then do that in a diplomatic way. But attacking the civilians is just uncalled for. So I want to reiterate that we're winning on all battlefronts. The videos can show that. Uh, in America, of course, with the new Biden administration, that is a huge, huge positive for Tigray because the past administration, as you guys might know, Secretary Pompeo as well as Donald Trump endorsed this law and order operation that Abiy Ahmed, carried out on the Tigray people. So with Biden and Harris, we have a lot of hope. The Tigray have a lot of hope. We will be shifting our focus on protesting and catching the attention of these two political figures. Biden and the Vice President Harris. Um, everything here is written in Tigray, so I have to like translate it.
Good job, man.
So, so, can you hear me?
Oh yeah, you're good.
Okay. So with the new administration, we're not going to see these Trump protesters anymore, and they're stealing and grabbing the spotlight in American news. So with these anti-democratic people gone, Tegaru's protests will grab the attention, and we can make United States focus on Tegaru's plight and the genocide currently being waged on us. So that's a huge positive too. The protest that was scheduled, the global protest that was scheduled, was postponed for that specific reason, because Trump protesters were thinking about crashing the inauguration of Joe Biden. So we no longer have to worry about that. Literally, USA can focus on Tegaros, and that's amazing. How we're just a small group and we've managed to grab the attention of USA, superpower. So continuing on from there, Tedros Adhanom, the World Health Organization leader, reached out to Kamala Harris. So he beat the Ethiopian regime in reaching out to the USA administration. So the USA administration has more respect for Dr. Who, Dr. Tedros of Who, than reaching out to Abiy Ahmed and what's her name, Sahle, which is the ceremonial figure in the Ethiopian regime. And then lastly, all of the international bodies, the European Union, the UK, the UN, now the USA, are completely against the Ethiopian regime. They've spoken of humanitarian crisis. They've spoken of possible war crimes, and they have condemned the regime for disallowing access. And as you know, the European Union has already suspended aid to Abiy Ahmed. So all of these are, these are a lot of positive strides that we're making. A lot of it due to our work in protesting. We will see that this in the near future will play out very nicely for us. Now the negatives. Let me just quickly go over the negatives. So we know that help is on standby. There's a lot of aid ready, but it's being blocked by Abiy Ahmed, and not just Abiy Ahmed, but internally. For example, there's a photo of these supply trucks that arrived in Alamata, which is the southern region of Mekelle, and they were rerouted to Sokota, which is in Amhara region. So this is happening quite often. These supply trucks full of aid that are destined and meant to be delivered to Tigray from various international aid agencies are being rerouted to other regions, and they're not making its way to the central part of Tigray, Aksum, Adwa, and Shire. So that is something that we need to fight. And there is a report out there that Abiy Ahmed is weaponizing hunger. So that's going to work in our favor because then the international media, the international bodies know that this is happening. So that's really good. So there's a report out there. Y'all should check it out. Then above all, the saddest thing I regret to admit, but there are a lot of people dying of starvation, people dying of using the river water as a source of hydration, and people are dying, kids are dying. We are suffering, I don't want to mention this, but rape, and then the innocent killings of a lot of civilians in the city. And there are videos there that are surfacing of troops mistreating regular civilians and hitting civilians. These are fresh videos that have come out this week. And continuing on from there, now the world is pressuring Abiy Ahmed to enter and do their investigations and deliver humanitarian aid. So Abiy Ahmed, knowing that if they enter, that will be his demise. That will be the downfall of Abiy Ahmed, because they will uncover so many war crimes that are already that they already know and have been reported on. But if you're Abiy Ahmed, would you let these guys in? Quickly, would you let these guys in, knowing that if they do their investigations, it's going to be the end of you? Would you let them in?
Well, that's the whole purpose, is because, of course, he won't let them in because he knows, like, that's his downfall.
Exactly. So Abiy Ahmed is going to try very hard to keep these guys out. And now there's a delegate being sent from the EU. His name is Janez Lenarchik, but he's the Commissioner for Crises Management, Civil Protection, and Humanitarian Aid for the European Emergency Response Coordinator. And he's a delegate that's going to meet with the Ethiopian regime, and he will assess the humanitarian crisis and try to work out a deal with Abiy Ahmed that allows unimpeded access to Tigray. And so whether Abiy Ahmed can live up to that demand remains to be seen, because, again, if they come in and they investigate, that is his downfall. So this will be interesting to see. And then lastly, I really want to point out there, this is my last point, is that a lot of groups are in our name are trying to raise money. And these are illegal and illegitimate groups that are using the Tegaru name to raise money for their own benefit. Then there's these celebrities or these new people, new Ethiopians, that are trying to catch on board with Tegaru's fight.
So I'm gonna ask you. I'm actually gonna ask you about that later. Hold your thoughts there.
Yeah.
Hold your thoughts there. So I got the chart that you put together.
But
let's briefly cover that, the chart that you put together, and then I'll have questions for you. We got quite a bit of stuff to cover. So what inspired you to put together the chart?
I just feel like it's easier to channel your I guess your protesting on social media easier if you can see like the right government officials, international officials to target. So we need to know, like, in the easiest terms possible, who's representing Tigray, who can actually make a difference, and what are the various groups that are working towards helping Tigray. So it really helps to have an organized chart. And so I work towards doing this because it can be very confusing to people that are not following it daily and hourly. So what I've done is I compiled this chart to help the ordinary person and bring awareness easier.
Very good. Okay, so I'm going to show the next one real quick. This is shows you he's cozying up with Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid of Saudi Arabia. There's Isaias Afwerki. There's a dictator like Abiy Ahmed, and the killers from the Ethiopian federal troops. And then you have the drones is being sort of discussed, that the U.S. has insinuated that the drones were not sold from the U.S. to the United Arab Emirates, and that somehow it's China. So for disclaimer purposes, we do not in certainty have evidence, but we have it. Actually, he has it together. We do know that they're based in Eritrea. Eritrea is deployed more than 250,000 troops to Tigray, and most of the troops have been. Sorry, I think we have an audio overlap. But, yeah. So the next one, well, I'm going to skip through it real quickly, but it's going to be like popping like the screen, you and I. But after that, There's a video of abuse. This is recent video that we've got hold of, and this is what they're doing to the young Tegarus in Tigray as we speak. This was like a leaked video taken, just kids minding their own business and just getting beat up. When you see this kind of behavior, I think you could simply see the injustice and the abuse that is taking place. In this next video, I want us to listen and then let the audience hear it. And then there's more videos like later on I'm going to come back to. But this is the areas where it's going to hopefully open up people's eyes. This is in Tigray now.
Do you have the audio on? Can't hear it.
You can't hear it?
No, I can't hear the audio.
All right, hold on.
Oh.
All right, I'm going to replay. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Can you hear it now? All
right.
ኣብ ከተማ ይተቐምጥ እንደይ መንእሰይ ሓሪዶም እንደይ መንእሰይ ቀቲሎም ጠያይቲ ገዛ ዕሚዮም ቤተክርስትያን ዕሚዮም መስጊድ ዕሚዮም ለዕለ ይወሉም ስለዚ ናይ ህዝቢ እዩ እምበይ ናይ ሰራዊት ይኮን ሰራዊት እንድሕር ኮይኖም በረኻ ኸይዶም ሰራዊት እዮም ክዋግኡ ግብኦም እምበይ ህዝቢ ይኮኑን ይዋግኡ እጥበይ ዓጥቃ ንመቸብቲ ህዝቢ
ክሳብ ህዝቢ ናይ ቁረስ ተዘገበላ ነገር እዩ ናይ ቁረስ ካብ ዝገደደ ኢልና ኢና ክንሕዘዝ ካብዘን ሰባሳበሳ ማለት እዩ ሰላማዊ ሰብ ናይ ሓደ ስድራ 3-4 ዝሞቱ ኣዴታት ዝደፈራሉ መናእሰይ ዝተቐንፅልሉ ሕድመ ዘይፈሊ ቆልዒ የለው ዓበይቲ የለ ዝተበሳበሰ ኣምባሳቢሶም ከይደለ ስለዚ ኣብዚ ብጣዕሚ ሕማቕ ኣብዚ ታሪክ እዚ ኣብዚ ዓመተ ምህረት እዚ ኣብ ቴክኖሎጂ ዘለዎ ዓዲ ግዜ እንደዚህ ምብስባስ ዘይተባለ የተበሳቢሱ ማለት ነው
ትግራዋይ ግን ዘይኮነ ነይሩ ካሕሳይ ግቦል ግቦ ነይሩ በይ ብጠያይ ካሕሳይ ይፍደ በሃገር ምፍራስ ኣይኮነኒ እዚ ልፍደ ስለዚ ክንደይ ኣብ ቁረስ ክንደይ መንእሰይ ረጊፉ ክንደይ ገዛ ዓሚው ክንደይ ንብረት ተሰሪቁ መዓት ታንክታት ይተረፈ መዓት ናይ መንግስቲ መንበራት ይተረፈ ተሰሪቁ ብናይ ሻዕብያ ተወሪርና ስለዚ እዚ ሃገር ክመርሕ እየ ንብል መንግስቲ ንትግራይ ክመርሕ እየ ንብል መንግስቲ መቸም ብናተ የራዳድኣ ኣይመርሓን ፅባሕለይ ይመርሕ ሃገር ካል ኣውራርካስ ሃገር ክመርሕ እየ ማለት ትክክል ይኮነ ኢትዮጵያዊት ከዓ ኣይኮንኩን ኣነ ሕርሕጂ ትግራዊት እየ እምበይ ኢትዮጵያዊት ይኮን ንቃክል ናይ ሃገር ትግራይ እየ ልብል ሕዚ ኣነ ሃገር ትግራይ እየ ልብል ሃገር ኢትዮጵያዊት ኣይብልን ኣነ ኢትዮጵያዊት ይኮን ኣነ
ንኢትዮጵያ ሕልፊ ዝኸፈለ መተካእታ ዘይብላ ህይወቱን አካሉን ዝገበረ ህዝቢ እዝን ትፍደ ካብዝን ላዕሊ
So that was obviously, you know, it's heartbreaking. The woman is talking how that the Tigray people don't deserve any of it. That the massacre and the atrocity that has been committed by Eritrean troops and the Amhara militia and the Ethiopian troops and the Somalians, it's unbearable. And she just, you know, summed it up by saying she can no longer call herself Ethiopian. Does that surprise you?
That's right. No, not at all, because like she said, you know, Tigray, people of Tigray have given their sons and they've paid sacrifice to the greater good of Ethiopia, and to have this kind of treatment, you know, back on the Tigray people, it's just it's disheartening. And she said that They don't deserve us, and I will no longer claim Ethiopianism, and I am just Tigrawiti, and she's totally
Yeah.
right for that.
And so, did you know also Abiy Ahmed actually sincerely believed that he was going to become a king, that his mother told him, and he believed it?
You know, there's nothing that he hasn't said yet. He's even claimed God and mixed religion into it. This guy is totally crazy. He does not represent a sane government system. This guy's absolutely lunatic, and he's a man without integrity.
So here is an Amharic, and if you're not sure, it's about 28-second video, and if you don't understand it, I can quickly explain it, but I want the audience to hear it.
No, I understand. Yeah,
Okay.
there's no volume.
Yeah, I'm having an
Fix it
audio
up.
issue. All right, let's see here.
I don't want to even see that guy's face. The guy's amazing.
Hold up. We're gonna bring him back up and see. We got. Okay. Well,
The subtitles are there. That should be good enough for English
all
audio.
right. So I'm gonna figure out with my audio, like when I have that, it's fortunately not working. But so he claimed that based on what his mother told him, that he was going to become a king, and basically in his mind he was untouchable. So no matter how many people he massacred, he was just like convinced that he was going to become like the king of like East Africa, basically. Like I'm just like trying to like comprehend and have like polite conversation, obviously, but what are the Ethiopians thinking of this man?
Honestly, I can only talk about the Tegaru mothers because I just witnessed at our candlelight vigil. A couple of mothers came up to the front to speak their mind, and a lot of them were just voicing their displeasure for this man and how he treated people like Aboy Sibhat, Siyum Masfin, our older TPLF officials who retired and were not a part of the fight and were just sitting in their homes. And for them to be dragged out a month prior to Eritrea for torturing and then be brought back and be, just transported to the middle of nowhere to be executed without, their day in court. These mothers came out and they were just literally, they denounced Ethiopia as a country. They denounced the Church of Ethiopia. They denounced anything related to Ethiopia, and they were just completely fed up with how Ethiopia has backstabbed them and their children. And they vouched to never, ever, ever take a part of anything Ethiopian related. And so I can stand for those mothers. I can speak for those mothers because I've heard it personally from me, and they were just outright just disappointed is just lack of a better word. But as the Somalian mothers are also crying and protesting in a town in Somalia. Did you see that?
Yep. And they just had the protest actually today.
Yeah, it was today, so it's fresh.
Yep. I follow that. So talking about the mothers, the suffering that's happening, this is going to be it's a about 41-second video. It's very disturbing, but it's a child, part of his body burned, and saying,
Burn victim. I think I saw that.
Burn victim, and saying he's hungry for food. He's hungry. So I warn the viewers that you might find this video very disturbing. Tamini. He's saying like Tamini, meaning like he's hungry. Tamini. I know it's like this is like really hard, but when a child, taking his last breath and saying, Tamini, Tamini, I'm hungry, I'm hungry, I'm hungry. And you have a man that all he can talk about is how when his mother told him that he was going to be a king, and I guess being a king at all costs, it's I can't express it and I can't explain how disturbing it is, but I believe I have my audio corrected. But let's catch, to this kind of goes with what we're talking about. So when he was talking earlier, I had an audio issue, but I think I have my audio situated. So let's hear what he had said and what he's doing.
በሰባት ዓመቴ እናቴ ሰባተኛው የኢትዮጵያ ንጉስ አንተ ነህ አለች። በሰባት ዓመቴ ኢህአዴግን አላውቅም ምናምን አላውቅም። በቃ አእምሮዬ ጋር ቀረ። እኔ ንጉስ ነኝ ሁሉ ጊዜ ኤሌመንተሪ ብትሄዱ ተማሪ ጠቅላላ የሚያቀኝ ንጉስ መሆኔ ነው እና ማነበውም ሮጦ ምናምን የምለው ንግስና ይመጣል በሚል በሰባት ዓመቴ
I'm going to replay it one more time and I'll be done.
ሰባተኛው የኢትዮጵያ ንጉስ አንተ ነህ አለች። በሰባት ዓመቴ ኢህአዴግን አላውቅም ምናምን አላውቅም። በቃ አእምሮዬ ጋር ቀረ። እኔ ንጉስ ነኝ ሁሉ ጊዜ ኤሌመንተሪ ብትሄዱ ተማሪ ጠቅላላ የሚያቀኝ ንጉስ መሆኔ ነው እና ማነበውም ሮጦ ምናምን የምለው ንግስና ይመጣል በሚል
How sick is that?
I'm sorry, this is an evil that's never been witnessed in Ethiopia, and a level of stupidity that has also never been displayed, and you will never have seen in the last 30 years in TPLF dominancy. This is just downright disgusting. This man is a man without integrity. It's been repeatedly said. It's very disgusting. I don't know what else to say.
And why is the world, I mean, I know that you have a lot of information that you gather and the world is not necessarily silent, but why isn't there an action? How long are we going to cry? How long are we going to be angry? How long are we going to say this has to stop? I mean, I know that the Biden-Harris administration, we are seeing
the sad truth is,
go ahead.
well, the sad truth is that Ethiopia, Wayana has propped up Ethiopia to be a respectable country for many, many years. And Ethiopia being a sovereign country, a free country, it's very hard for an outside influence to come in and force things. There is no precedent. There's never been a time in history where the UN or any international body has forcefully entered and forced their way in to dictate anything. So, as you can see, since the beginning of the war or law and order operation, Abiy Ahmed has just fed the community, the international community, with lies on top of lies on top of lies. This guy has lied about absolutely everything that he could possibly lie about, and the world can't do nothing but slowly catch up onto his lies and condemn him for it. But has there been a time in history where international body has forced its way in to make change? No. So Ethiopia is a sovereign country, so his bullshit is going to have to unfortunately be swallowed by everyone. It's just very sad. The words that he was saying about being the seventh king, it just goes to show you how pathetic the rest of the population is. Tegaru, when they heard that, they were disgusted. But being a minority, being roughly 10 million of the 110 million in the country, can't really dictate the politics there. being a minority in a democratic system. This guy has the nerve to talk about being a king in a parliamentary system. It just does not make sense. This guy, for us to catch it out and point it out, it's not enough for the other 100 million to catch on and call this guy out on his bullshit. So it really, this guy being able to feed all of these lies and say something as stupid as that is a reflection on the people, in my opinion, because
And
when
they believe him
Wayne
and
was
they
in
follow
power,
him. They
this
go with
didn't
everything
happen.
he lies about.
Well, there's a particular group, extremist group, that has control of the media and is working with him. I don't want to name this group by the ethnic name, but they're okay with whatever he does as long as they get what they're
I will call them the names for
seeking,
you.
which
They're called
is
the Amhara. They're the
to
Amhara tribe. I'll
yeah
call them out.
to destroy Tegaru, and because they're always going to remain jealous and always going to have hatred for um, our development and our standing.
Yeah, but we got, it's like they bite in the hand that fed them. So I don't even understand how the Eritrean mercenaries are really thinking that they're not next, that if they're not paying attention to what's happening, the Amhara's interest isn't just to get rid of Tegaru, but it's also to fight Eritreans and to jump into the port sea of Assab. That's been their dream. That's been their vision. So they're just like, to me, they're just like a bunch of snakes, because if they're really human being, when you have children suffering the way that we've seen that clip, that woman who was talking how the Tigray Defense Forces are not fighting in cities, rather they're up in the mountains, and there's no reason for them to massacre people within the cities. Like, what other language? I mean, yeah, I understand we've been talking in Tigray now for so long. Now we speak in English. We explain it to the world that this is not okay. This is absolutely not okay. And we can bleep
When
politics
Wayne,
out even.
yeah, when Wayne left the cities, I didn't think they would have thought that the soldiers would have done that to that extent, to attack the civilians nastily like that when Wayne initially left the cities. And then, like you said, there's no basis for them to attack the civilians that way. And if they only saw the bigger picture, like you mentioned, that the Amhara, the Amhara and Eritreans, they don't have the same mutual benefit. There aren't any mutual benefits. Amhara will like to take the ports, the Eritrean, the sea coast. So if they only saw the bigger picture, they wouldn't team up. They see that there aren't any mutual benefits, but it's just years of brainwashing and dire circumstances with both groups and being led by very incompetent leaders that it's come to this day where they are just acting on the behalf of someone else's brain and not their own brain.
So we saw, I don't know if you saw it, like a couple days ago, the U.S. actually say that they hear us. They're deeply concerned. They have information on the genocide in Tigray, but also the genocide, potential genocide on the 100,000 Eritrean refugees that was safely housed in Tigray. Those are like some very strong words that we heard from the United States on the days that the Joe Biden administration was been inaugurated. So what hope does it give for the young Tegaru in the diaspora who's been fighting for the protests and for justice and everything else that we've been fighting for?
It gives a lot of hope. It's also a reward on their hard work and their efforts paid off. So Anthony Blinken, he is the nominated Secretary of State for the Biden administration, and he's on record. A video came out, and he spoke of the matter, and he blatantly said that there are atrocities being committed against the Eritrean refugees in the camps. And one can easily point out that the perpetrators of these atrocities have to be the Ethiopian and Eritrean government. You cannot blame TPLF, the state government of Tigray, for these atrocities, because we all know that they're in guerrilla warfare and they're in the mountains. So common sense will prevail there. And then he spoke on the humanitarian crisis in Tigray. So for these two things to be admitted by the high positions, high officials within the new administration, that is just a great beacon of light for Tegarus. And that just gives us further motivation to continue with these protests, because we know they're working.
But of course, we still have to keep pushing. So I don't want, like it's refreshing. At the same time, we feel like frustrated still, but I think what I wanted the message to be to a lot of the young Tegaru in the diaspora, especially in the United States, who have been fighting, is we can't, be, naive and think like, okay, we got a new administration in America now, everything is going to get resolved on its own. We got to keep the pressure going. We have to keep, calling. We have to keep emailing. We have to.
Totally, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right, because before while the Trump administration was here, we never protested, locally here. We were only protesting for the international world to hear us, because we knew Trump and Secretary Pompeo was for the genocide, for the war in Tigray. So we couldn't protest in our own backyards. But now we have an administration that's willing to listen to us. This is a new chapter for us, and this is a time for us to, have even more energy and protest even harder.
So we've got one of our audience is asking a question: if the international organization are not going to intervene because we are a sovereign country, what is the point of us talking here? I think I'm going to jump in.
I actually have a response for that.
Go ahead.
If I may.
Yep.
So just as Abiy Ahmed tried to invade us, and has from the north, being Eritrea, and from the south, the rest of Ethiopia, to try to sandwich us and suffocate us, we are going to do the same, because the forces on the ground, Tigray, are attacking Abiy Ahmed and attacking him successfully. And with the external pressure from the international community, the US, the European Union, and the UK, we are going to pressure him from the outside. So we're actually going to sandwich him from the outside and the inside, and we're going to use that tactic against him. As you can see, if he has to divide his attention on the outside world to try to fend them off, and have half of his attention on the inside forces of the Tigray, which are winning on all the battlefronts, that gives us the advantage, because he has divided attention. So currently he's losing ground. He's losing all credibility with the international world, that's for sure. And then inside, we know that he's losing. With all the civilian casualties that we've suffered, we're still winning on the battlefronts. And we know that each time we win a battle, those sore loser soldiers are going into the cities and attacking civilians. So that's another proof of our victories on the battlefield. So, to say it in short, he has half of his attention divided on the external pressure, and half of his attention divided on the internal pressure from the Tigray forces. So if we continue to apply that pressure and protest from the outside, we can have pressure coming in from both directions, and we need to continue that. But if we don't, then if he doesn't have the international community pressuring him, he only has to worry about the forces inside. So we must continue to protest. Sorry for that elaborated answer. You can go ahead.
Sure, that's okay. So it's also, there are rules of engagement when the war we're talking about is not Ethiopian troops fighting Tigray Defense Forces. Abiy Ahmed, Mashrafat Ahmed, made the war international. because when you have Eritreans and Somalians fighting in Tigray, you then internationalize the fighting. So that is actually the bigger reason, in addition to the humanitarian crisis, is that this war should never happen, but it happened. While it happens, the international community has an obligation. Why? The international rule has been violated under the International Committee of the we can talk about the ICC and whatnot, but the main purpose of the international humanitarian law is to maintain some humanity in armed conflict, saving lives and reducing the suffering. And what's happening in Tigray is the opposite. That people are suffering. So under the international law in Geneva, 196 countries have signed for the international law that when you are in a war, that there is certain responsibilities that you must follow, and those again is not making sure that civilians are not suffering as a result of the war, that humanitarian crisis ought to be minimized. What's happening in Tigray is maximized. So the international community has outlined basically to do, it says, regulates how wars are fought, balancing two aspects, weakening the enemy and limiting suffering. The rule of war are universal. The Geneva Convention, which are the core element of the international humanitarian law, have been ratified by all 196 states, which is countries. And there are a few countries that they don't necessarily support them because they want to have some evil acts against their people. What you have here is by a government who fails to uphold the Constitution by refusing to hold an election. In doing so, he wants to eliminate an entire ethnic minority in the country that he perceives too strong, too powerful for him to clear path for a dictatorship and to be a king. So therefore, the international community has an obligation to intervene the same way they did when they intervened in Kosovo in 1997. Milosevic was stopped from the atrocity that he had attempted. And that's our whole hope here, and our goal is that for the U.S., that the Trump administration has been delaying and actually systematically supporting Abiy Ahmed's actions. Now with the new administration, there should be an emergency hearing by the United Nations, and a UN mandated investigator should enter Tigray to investigate the atrocity, and for those who commit the crime should be held accountable. But the other important thing before that is opening up the corridor for humanitarian assistance for those who are suffering. So our focus here is we need humanitarian. So if Abiy Ahmed declare that the war has ended, what are you hiding then? What is he hiding then? Why are international communities entering into Tigray to provide the basic needs that we all take for granted? Kind of, you asked that question earlier, but when you think about it, he doesn't want the international community to enter Tigray because that will expose him. And if he's exposed by the international community,
and I hope the international community realizes that, and they need to ask themselves why, for the last 2 months, is Abiy Ahmed denying access to Tigray. They have to investigate why. What's behind the scenes, and if they can uncover that, then they will not be tricked by the Abiy regime. Because if they negotiate and at the end of the negotiation they don't have access, then it's a big loss for us. It's a big loss, and they're not doing their job because they're supposed to have access, they're supposed to investigate and deliver the aid self-managed. They can't have the aid be managed by the Ethiopian regime because, for one, how can the the one who's responsible for all these acts and the war and the genocide, deliver the aid to the people that are victimized by them. And then secondly, there are reports that the Ethiopian regime is weaponizing hunger. There are reports that the aid is being rerouted to other parts, other regions of Ethiopia. So if the international community can focus on why the Ethiopian regime has denied access for 2 months, you know, then we're solid, because there's a reason. There's a reason why someone would hide something for 2 months, and that's what they got to focus on.
And exactly, I mean, you're right. I think, you know, people are obviously frustrated because, you know, 2.5 months, almost 3 months actually now, is a long time for people to survive with very limited, you know, access to food and water. And I think that's the part where
no access, absolutely nothing.
Right. That, and you know, bank accounts are like, you know, frozen for many people, and in most Tigray region, with exception of Mekelle now, people don't have ways and means, like whether you have money or not, it doesn't make a difference anymore, because you can't even access to your bank account because everything has been shut down. So the agenda here is to make the people suffer. You know, you kill like disabled people, veterans who retire from the armed force in their 90s. We've talked about it before. Then that gives the demoralization of the young Tagars, you know, at home. Like, hey, you know, if they do that to our retired armed veterans, what's going to happen to us? So you see the game they're playing. Also now he's talking how he wants to expedite the election in June while people are suffering. I mean, how evil is this man?
It's very ironic that in wartime and in complete instability of the entire country, that he wants to now do the election. It's just, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't add up. And obviously, for dictators, they prefer instability. They prefer destruction all over in order to, you know, extend their administration, to extend their power. But if there's peace, if there's democracy, these dictators don't survive. They don't. So what he did is he took away democracy from the people. When he decided to extend the election, what he did is he took a stable and democratic and free state of Tigray and turned it into a war zone, a genocide zone. And now to conduct an election, is just mind-boggling. It's retarded. It doesn't make any sense. Pardon my language. I shouldn't really be saying retarded.
No, I mean, I feel you, man. I'm on the same boat. It's just it's sickening. But so we got some protests going on tomorrow. Obviously, the original plan was to have as many cities as possible across the U.S. and across the world to protest. But because of what happened in Washington recently, leadership in Washington, the Tigray leadership in Washington, requested for the protest worldwide to be postponed for 1 week, which is now scheduled for January 28th. What are you guys doing to get ready for that?
Well, we're gonna build off our last protest, and now that we have the added security and backing of, you know, our own home country administration, we're gonna focus our chants, our messages towards our current leaders, Biden and Harris, Secretary of State, our local congressmen, who we are the constituents of. And this is going to be one of the best protests, because now we can protest in our own backyard and have, you know, the country that we're citizens of actually hear us and actually care about what we have to say. And we know they have our backing. Yeah, they have our backs. And so that's what we're going to do. We're going to focus our message to those leaders.
And earlier you mentioned that I did promise you that we're going to come back to it. There are some who are benefiting at the expense of Tegaru death, saying that, hey, let's, setting up GoFundMe and stealing money. I interrupted you because I want us to cover and go in sort of like a little bit like an order, but I would love for you to touch base on that.
Hey, let me just start off by asking you a simple question. Is there are we struggling with a lack of money?
Not right now.
No, we're not. So why are we fundraising? Why are these random Ethiopian groups popping up and asking the people for money? Where is that money going to go to? How can that actually help us right now? It can't. So a lot of smart Tegaru youth have caught that and have spread the news among concerned Ethiopians. These same Ethiopians that were gone in November of 2020, in December of 2020, whose voices were quiet, all of a sudden during the starvation period are trying to open their mouth. We are the young youth Tegaru are telling them, hey, we don't need your money. All we need is for you to take your troops out, open access, and tell your government to, to open up access and stop restricting the, international organizations from coming in. So, we're catching their. I think they're totally playing with us, and I don't think they really care. There was a time where they could have spoken up, and now it's just not the time. The starvation was a result of them not willing to protest with us, speak up during the war, during the atrocities. In my opinion, the worst, with the exception of the starvation, the worst that has happened so far was in December. The 750 that died in Aksum, the massacres in Maikadra, and so on and so forth were in November and December. But in January, with the exception of the starvation, I don't think it was as bad. So for them to come out all of a sudden and claim that these Ethiopians actually care about Tegarus is just false. It's false for me. And if one or two are caught there trying to, stand out among the other populations, the other ethnic groups like the Amhara group, we shouldn't look to them as heroes. We shouldn't look to them as people of integrity, people who stand up for what's right, because these people were silent in November and December of 2020. So us Tegarus, for the ones who are not seeing these people for what they truly are, we have to open our eyes. We have to help these Tegarus understand that we're doing this on our own. We're only Tegarus here that are fighting for it. And so money is not the problem. Access is the problem. So let's stop donating money to these phony GoFundMe accounts. One person I would like to mention here is the guy by the name of what's his name? Nathaniel Asmalash. I don't think the youth are really targeted or victims here, because they're not really, because the guy's message is mainly Tigray and Amharic. So I don't think that the youth, the English speaking, is a victim. But this man has managed to raise 14,000. I have no clue where this money is going to go, because this guy has been against Tigray, against the Wayane elected party in Tigray for years and years, tens of years. And so for now, to raise money in the name of Tegarus, in our name, I certainly don't know what his intentions are with that money. So today, what we have to recognize is that all these people that are slowly showing up in 2021, we have to call them out on their fakeness. And if they really do want to help with access. Don't help with money, because we have plenty of money. But this money and this help can't get in because we don't have access. And
Well,
how can they support the government on one side?
Go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, I want to clarify something more deeper. Actually,
on one side, how can they support the government? Sure, go ahead.
Sorry, apologize. We have an audio delay, but I'm gonna. I think that specific gentleman that you mentioned from Oklahoma, I've actually sent an email to GoFundMe, and I informed them that he is fraudulently raising money, that while he declared in his Amharic statement that I read it, stating that the Tigray region declared war on Ethiopia, and he went on a rant. So I've actually shared it with a little over 1,000 people on Messenger, and then there's various groups that I'm part of on WhatsApp, on Viber, and then there's like other groups that I'm part of in the community, like Tigray Network group, which has over 13K. African Insider is our brother who also runs the website. So Tegaru's all over the world. We have been discussing this actually on our own private chat, to in addition to the public forum that we have, like Tigray Network Group. And we're talking about in the show is that those of you who are kind, wanted to help to raise money, please ask for Tigray community in your towns, in your states. We have Tigray communities that would legitimately accept donation and legitimately will use that money to the refugees in Sudan, to the people displaced in Tigray, and it actually, your dollar will 100% go to the people who needs it. So to add to what Mangustav just said, we have individuals who are actually thieves who are stealing your money in the name of Tegaru, because in fact, they actually are opening up champagne and celebrating whenever they see Tegaru dying. So I'm not making this up, but these people who are actually setting up like a fundraiser on GoFundMe, please don't trust them. Please don't throw like a dime of your money to any of this. And when we, for sure, do a fundraiser, follow us. Cyber Power of Tigray will air it. Tigray Media House will air it. Axumawian Media will air it. Tigray Network Group will post it. Africa Insider will post it. We have various platforms that we will keep you intact. We are no longer the Tegaru who have been unorganized. We are now mobilized. We have a network. We have office in Washington, D.C. If you have questions, the 800 number is 1-833-TIGRAY1. If you want to send out an email, tigraycenter@gmail.com. We can answer most of your questions. If we don't know the answer, we'll have, within our leadership, we have plenty of resources. In fact, I don't want to like sound big head here, but I will tell you, I'm part of the community in the West Coast. So the state of Washington, California, Oregon, Nevada, Colorado, and Arizona communities, Tigray communities, we are working together, collaborating with one another. Every Friday, we're holding a Zoom meetings to share information with one another. So if you really want to help Tigray, if you really want to help refugees in Tigray and in Sudan, we are available to work with you. Our communities will happily work with you, that we know your money will be spent where it should be. But those individuals are thieves who set up like GoFundMe, like, donations, that you'll never see your money again. So I apologize, I interrupted you, my brother, but that's what I want to clarify. We need the money, but we need it to be contributed to Tigray communities throughout the world that we have, that are like legal entities. We have communities that are within the proper nonprofit 501 or 50, whatever. Like, I'm not an expert, but we have a nonprofit with 501 C3, which is the right term actually, that actually your money will be spent to the people who needs it the most. So don't get, emotional, and don't let them fool you when they write something nice.
Yeah, local leaders. Absolutely.
So they, I don't know. It's like for the young Tegarus that are heartbroken, where I feel like it's exhausting how many times we cover about the killings, the sufferings. let's cover some grounds where we're headed. I think we talked about the accomplishment to date. The work is not done, but we've got, I think a lot of people now are not only becoming aware of it. When you look at Twitter, it's lit. Officials within the U.S. government are speaking out. I think we're doing an amazing job, but we need to keep pushing. We need to keep that momentum going. So to make sure that Tegaru and those who support Tegaru stay on it, what messages can we share with them? What encouragements can we talk so that we're not fatigued, that our community, especially the young people who have mobilized it, how do we ensure that this actually continues?
Well, there are two battlefields. There's us on the there's the diaspora Tigrayans on the outside, and our battlefield is social media. It's protesting, it's fighting with our words. And then the other battlefield, of course, is the literal battlefield with, guns. And our domestic Tagaros, our defense forces, are holding up pretty well. So it's pretty much a race between domestic Tagaros versus diaspora Tigrayans. Which pressure is going to topple the Ethiopian regime first? Are the Tigrayan defense forces going to defeat Abiy Ahmed and end this genocide first, or are we going to apply that external pressure that is going to, fold the Ethiopian government? So what we need to do is we need to keep working hard and match the energy that our Tigray defense forces are having, because they are paying the ultimate sacrifice, which is their life. And so at the very least, what we can do here is, from the comfort of our devices, is to keep tweeting, is to organize locally with our groups. And whenever we have events like candlelight vigils or protests, that we should help in any capacity that we can, and be creative in our ways of protesting, be effective in terms of who we're sending our messages to, and daily tweeting. So just staying on top of our leaders. So like Maaza Gide, she is I believe, an affiliate of Tigray, also an affiliate of TMH. She's very brilliant. She leading the Twitter campaigns. So this week, she's urged us to tweet, Biden take action. Make sure that that's trending, and we have done so well so far, I believe. And our Twitter accounts are trending per hour. You can see that a lot of tweets have been mentioning Tigray genocide, either Tigray genocide or Biden take action. So focus on these two tweets for this week-long Twitter campaign, and our message will be heard. These top officials in the new administration will catch on to what message we're trying to bring to the agenda of the American people, especially the political leaders. So yeah, follow Maza Gide. She's very exceptional. She's a part of the group that's trying to, as well as yourself, Mike, to reach out in English. Start this, this collaboration with this youth, the youth of diaspora Tigrayans. So yeah, so to cap it off, we are racing with the internal pressure to Tigrayan defense forces. Who's going to win first? Who's going to defeat the regime first, the external or the internal pressure? So let's do it.
Amen. So I think our goal is to keep the momentum going, like you're saying, to network, to make sure that we are getting the correct information, but also, staying on top of our games, not get, distracted, not get carried away with false information. I know it's very challenging to get like a lot of information from Tigray right now, but there are enough information coming out that we have various sources that are able to provide the information, and it's I can indefinitely announce it, and I might have said in the past, the worst enemy in Tigray right now for Tegaru are now the Eritrean mercenaries. Eritrean troops are literally killing anyone they come across, raping young girls and women, and terrorizing the area. And now building military bases deep inside Tigray and issuing like an ID to Tegaru saying, you are now Eritrean because this part of the land belongs to us now.
Yeah, mainly on the borderlines. Yeah.
No, it's a lot deeper than borderline because Alambesa, yeah, there's various areas that I'm familiar with, for example, that is nowhere inside Eritrea. That's not even any close to the border. So I
Yeah,
think
it's very disturbing. You're right. But what we can't do is focus on the fight that there that is being fought internally, because from here, there's not much we can do. Keeping up to date of what's going on is good for us because it gives us some a sense of I guess confidence moving forward. Also, it gives us material to show the external world, hey, what's going on, and that they should act swiftly. But as far as making an impact directly with the internal struggle, it's it's kind of hard from here. So we should focus our fight by applying external pressure.
and somebody is wondering why we're saying don't donate money to GoFundMe. Obviously, we expressed and explained it, but this person is a little bit confused. So we're going to try to help them out.
I can explain it. Yeah. Yeah, let me read that comment.
So they're saying, what are you talking about? I'm sending money into Mekelle.
So
they do need
yeah,
money.
I mean there are ways. Yes, there are ways. I myself have sent money to my family back home through Mekelle. Only the banks in Mekelle are the only ones open. So what they would do is whether they're not
let's
from,
save the
whether they're
detail
from
on
Mekelle
that
or
for
not, they will.
security purposes, though.
Okay, sure. But what I'll say is that that person mentioned, yes, that's one viable alternative. There's also valid, legitimate groups here in America that you can donate to. There's the overall GoFundMe page. But like I said, just consult with your local leaders, Tegaru leaders, so that way you're donating to the right group. But keep in mind that the donations are good and you should donate. Like for example, I donated to TMH because TMH is fighting and being the voice for the voiceless. That's one way to help. But in terms of delivering food and relief packages into Tigray, that's currently not possible at the moment. And so rather than donating, even just participating and staying up to date and protesting, that's also good too. But as that person mentioned, yes, there's other ways to get the money into Mekelle and help in that regard. But as far as donating, we're only talking about donating here in America. So if you're gonna donate here in America, consult with your local groups first, your local leaders. Don't just donate in the name of Tigray, because as you can see, that's a new problem that we're facing. All these fakers that are creating these groups just to profit on themselves. So that's what just to clarify what that person was saying. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm also not convinced these persons like they continue to comment. One, they're like not following a thing that we're explaining here. We did not say, you did not say, I did not say that don't help money directly back at home and don't send money to specific people that you know. What we said and what I'm going to say, I think some of the comment that this person is posting is they're creating like a little bit of tension to themselves basically and trying to create confusion here. But to clarify, we specifically say there are thieves that are setting up GoFundMe that we know some of these people are not trustworthy, because if they are, when we reach out to them, when our communities within their cities reach out to them, they don't communicate, they don't respond. So we are convinced that some within the Amhara are using the name of Tegaru to benefit money to themselves, and we are deeply concerned. So those who are, donating their hard-earned money,
Yeah,
we wanted to focus
I'm
and
gonna give you
giving
a
it to
good
the
example.
community, the Tigray community.
Yeah, like Nathaniel Asmalash, it's gonna take a little deeper insight to understand this. But when I reviewed the list of donors on his GoFundMe page, I noticed that a lot of these were Amharic names. So I saw that was illegitimate because nobody cares about Tegaru lives more than Tegarus. So to see that list of Amharu names prevalent, it just really put a stamp on it that this guy, they're supporting this guy because they know he's against the people of Tigray, and they're willing to do anything to to keep this war, this genocide go on. So you guys, we have to understand that there's a lot of money against us as well. It's not just so these supporters that are coming out today, they're also supporting funds that go against us. But like you said, we shouldn't focus our energy on this person that is really trying to put to light a fight that's really not happening. The donations that I know of today are TDA, Tigray Development Association. There's this GoFundMe for Simon Tesfaye. He's one who a brother of ours he's from the East Coast. He's traveled to Sudan himself and delivered supplies in person to the camps in Sudan. Um, so there's GoFundMe for that, and I know there's a group of Tagaros that will travel to Sudan this time around with them. So that is a noble cause to donate to. There's of course TMH, but outside of that, I wouldn't be focusing on donating too much because our main protests, our goals are to open access, and opening access requires pressure on the Ethiopian regime, the government, and it doesn't require money.
Absolutely. All right. Well, I think I want to say thank you to our audience. I appreciate your time. So I'm going to give you an opportunity to wrap it up here for your final thoughts, and we'll, I'm sure, come back again. Hopefully this weekend we can do a little bit of more discussions, and maybe in a shorter segment, but just do it like more periodically so that we can update our audience.
Sure. Yeah.
You want to go ahead and do a closing statement for me?
Yeah, sure. I got some stuff here that I'd like to share. Do you mind if we quickly wrap up in Tigrinya after this, or do you have time for that? Or
No, go ahead.
your
Yep.
thoughts?
Yep.
Okay. So I'm gonna run down this list here. It talks about basically what is the status of the the world leaders here. So with the UK, we have David Alton. He works in Parliament. He has constantly brought to the floor problems that are occurring in Tigray as Eritreans' involvement, as far as war crimes, and access for humanitarian relief being denied. So that's one sector that we're like I mentioned before, the whole entire world is on the backs of Tagaros right now. The whole world, the UK, the UN, the EU, and USA now. So that's really good. So that's UK. David Alton, he works in Parliament. Then we have the UN, who has come out and said that Ethiopia regime has failed um, in living up to that agreement of delivering food to and delivering humanitarian relief to Tigray. So that agreement was made in this early December. It's now mid-January, so they have failed to live up to that agreement. So the UN has recognized that. So the UN is on Tigray's side. The EU has, of course, we know, a suspended 90 million budget. They're also sending a delegate to try to improve on the contract between Ethiopia to ensure that they can deliver access, deliver aid and open access to Tigray. So a delegate is currently being sent there shortly to discuss with the Ethiopian regime. And then, of course, USA, with the new administration, there's just a whole load of hope with them. With Dr. Adhanom from WHO being able to reach out to the USA administration before the Ethiopian regime, just off the bat says a lot. Anything is better than the Trump administration, to be honest, at this point. So that is amazing news, and the world's with us. Jochum, we got this. Just keep protesting. We're doing really good.
That's right. Well, that was a short one, actually. I thought you were going to go a lot longer.
Yeah.
All right. So,
well, I took notes. I was prepared today, so we're good.
Good work. All right. Well, so to the audience, as usual, we appreciate you. We are going to continue at this until Tigray prevails. We know the strength and the will of the people. To Tagars around the world, hang in there. We got this. We're going to work together. We're going to continue the pressure, like our brother Mengistu said. We're going to build the momentum. We have built the momentum. We're going to continue the fight, internal and external, until the evil is defeated, until Tigray is free, until Tegaru have their space once and for all. Tigray is for Tegaru. So those of you who want like a little piece of pie, go find your own pie. Leave our people alone. Leave Tigray alone. So I thank you all for joining us for the evening Cyber Power of Tigray. I look forward to having you again in this show. I am going to let you finish up with Tigrinya, and then I'm going to finish up with Tigrinya, and then we're done.
All right, cool. Sounds good. So, ቀልጢፈ እዚ ኩሉ ፅሑፋት ኣዳልየልኩም መፅአ ቀልጢፈ ክንብበልኩም ደልየ በመጀመርያ ኣብዚ ዘሎ ዓወታት እና ኪሳራታት ኣለና ሎሚ ብዓወታት ክጅምር ኣብ ኩሉ ግንባራት ዘይተቀየረ ነገር የለን ተማሪኾም ምስ ዕጥቆምን ብዙሕ እናተኻየደ ብቪድዮ ተመስኪሩ እዩ ቪድዮ ሪኢና ኣለና ኣብዚ ሶምን ካብኡ ድማ ካብኡ ቀፂለ ሓድሽ ምርሕነት ኣብ ኣሜሪካ ዘሎ ብዙሕ ኣልዕልና ነርና ብእንግሊሽ ዶክተር ኣድሃኖም ናይ ዓለም ጤና ሓላፊ መራሒ ምስ እቲ መንግስቲ ናይ ኣሜሪካ ተዘራሪቡ ተራኺቦም ነይሮም ብስልኪ ቫይስ ፕሬዚደንት ካሜላ ሃሪስ ትበሃል ቅድሚ ኢትዮጵያ ንሱ በሊፅዎም ንሱ ቀዲምዎም እዚኣ ዓብይ ዓወት እዚኣ ካብኡ ቀፂልና እቲ ኣብዚ ዓዲ ፀረ ዲሞክራሲያዊ ተላዒሉ ዝነበረ ፕሮቴስት ተፈፂሙ እቲ ሓድሽ ስልጣን መፅኦም እና እቲ ዋና ክግድሶም ሕጂ ብዛዕባ ትግራይ ውዒሎም ንክዛረቡ ክንገርሙ ንኽእል ካሊእ ፕሮቴስት ፀረ ዲሞክራሲያዊ ዝነበረ ናይ ትራምፕ ሰፖርተር ስለዘየለ ሕጂ ብዛዕባ ናቱ ጉዳያት ክዛረቡ ኣብኡ ክንውዕሎም ንኽእል ፅቡቅ ዓወት እያ እዚኣ ናይ ዝተፈላለዩ ዓለም ውድባት ኩሎም ምስታና እዮም ዘለዉ ብምሉእ ኢትዮጵያ መንግስቲ ብስሩ ኣይኣምንን እዮም ብዙሕ ምጥቃዕቲ ከም ዘሎ ኣብ ትግራይ ብዙሕ ዘይሕጋዊ ኩሉ ተፈሊጡ ተፃሒፉ ብእንግሊሽ ኩሉ ሰብ እዩ ዝፈልጥ ምስ ኢትዮጵያ መንግስቲ ጠጠው ዝብል ዘሎ ናይ ዓለም ዝተፈላለዩ ውድባት ብስሩ የለን ኩሎም ምሳና እዮም ዘለዉ ካብኡ ኣብቲ ኪሳራታት ክሓልፍ እቲ ሃገር ከይኣቱ ብጣዕሚ ይፅዕሩ ኣሎ ሕጂ ሪፖርት ኣሎ እቲ ምግቢ ከም ምጥቃዕቲ ይገብርዎ ኣሎ ይሕዝዎ ኣሎ እቲ ንትግራይ ዝተዳለወ ሓገዝ እኽልን ኩሉ በመኪናታት ተፃዒነን ናብ ካሊእ ቦታ ዘይሮም ንኣምሓራ ቦታ ልኢኹሞ እዚ ዓብይ ኪሳራ እዩ እዚ ክንቃለሶ ኣለና ግን ፅቡቅ ንዓና እዩ ብእንግሊሽ ስለ ተፃሒፉ ኩሉ እቲ ዓለም ፈልጥ ኣሎ እንታይ ከም ዝገብር ዘሎ ካብኡ ቀፂና እቲ ዝዓበየ ፀገማት ዝወርድ ዘሎ ዝፍፀም ዘሎ ኣብ ዓድና እቲ ጥሜት እዩ ብጥሜት ዝሞቱ ዘለው ብጣዕሚ ዝሳቀካ ብጣዕሚ ዝሓዝነካ እዩ ግፍዒ ኣንስቲ እናተደፈራ ንፁሃን እናተረሽኑ ይፀንሑ ግን ከም መለስ ዝበለ ናይ መለስ ክንዝክሮ ኣለና እንታይ ኢሉ ንህዝቢ ትግራይ ክዛረብ ከሎ እንታይ ኢሉ ሞት ዘይፈትሐኩም ጥሜት ዘይፈትሐኩም እንኳዕ ተባኹም ትፈጠርና እዚ እንታይ ማለት እዩ ሞት መስዋዕቲ ጥሜት ከም መስዋዕቲ ብስሩ እዚ ነገር ኣይፈትሐናን ቃልትና ክቀፅል እዩ ክሕርና እምበር ኣይበከነና እዩ ስለዚ እዚ ንፈልጦ ኢና ናይ መጀመርያ ግዜ ኣይኮነን ብደርጊ ግዜ ሞኪሮሞ ነይሮም ግን ሓሊፍናዮ ዓዊትና ብተሰናሓደን ናይ 17 ዓመት ነበረ ቃልሲ ዓመታት ዝወሰደ ሎሚ ኣብ 2-3 ወርሒ ክንወድኦ ኢና ክንሓልፎ ኢና ፀገም የለን እና ዓብይ ንከይ ሰዓት ዘይተገበረ የለን ዘይሓስቦ የለን በቀሊል እውን ኣይወፅን እዩ እዞም ኩሉ ዓለም ውድባት ንክኣቱ ክፍትኑ እዮም ግን እሱ ኩሉ ዓቅሙ ክገብር እዩ ከም ዘይኣቱ ክገብር እዩ ክፈትን እዩ ንሕና ግን ናትና ፕሮቴስት ክንቀፅለሉ ኣለና እዚኣ ዓብይ ቃልሲ ክትኮነልና እያ ኣብ ግንባራት ትግራይ መከላከሊ ትግራይ ይስዕሩ ኣለው ዓወታት ይመዝግቡ ኣለው ግን ንሕና ዓበይ ዓወት ክንመዝግብ ዘለና ኣብ ደገ ኮይና ነቶም ዝተፈላለዩ ውድባት ኣብ ዓለም ዘለው ሚሊቲ ክኣቱ ብሓይሊ ገይሮም ክኣቱ ናብ ትግራይ ብዙሕ ፃዕሪ ክንገብር ኣለና ኣብተን ዓወታት ኣብተን ኪሳራታት ወዲአ ኣለኹ እዘን እየን ካብኡ ቀልጢፈ ናይቶም ኩነታት ዓለም ክዛረብ ደልየ ዩኬ ብሪቲሽ ማለት እዩ ሓደ ዴቪድ ኣልተን ዝበሃል ኣብ ፓርላመንት ዝሰርሕ ንሱ ምሳና እዩ ዘሎ ብዛዕባ ጉዳይና ክዛረብ እዩ ዝውዕል ዘሎ ዝፅዕር ዘሎ ብዛዕባ ኤርትራ ሰራዊት ኣብ ትግራይ ዘሎ ምግቢ እቲ ሓገዝ ከም ዘይኣቱ ዘሎ ተዛሪቡ ካብኡ ድማ ዩኤን ከምኡ እውን ተዛሪቦም ነይሮም ኢትዮጵያ እቲ ሓገዝ ንከይኣቱ ይገብሩ ኣለው እቲ ስምዒት ኣብ ታህሳስ 2020 ዝነበረ ስምዒት ኣፍሪሶሞ ኣይኽብርዎን ዘለው ተዛሪቦም ካብኡ እቲ ዩሮፒያን ውድብ እውን 9 ሚልዮን ቆሪፆሞ ሓገዝ ውህብቶ ዝነበረ ንኢትዮጵያ ክከይድ ዝነበረ ከምኡ ድሕሪኡ ድማ ሓደ ልኡኽ ሰዲዶም ኣለው ሕጂ ክመፅእ እዩ ኢትዮጵያ ካሊእ ስምምዕ ንክዛረቡ ካብኡ እቲ ሓድሽ ስልጣን ዝመፀ ካብዚ ላዕሊ ተስፋ ዝህበና ነገር የለን እዚ ብሱ ኣብ ኣሜሪካ ኮይና ደቂ ኣሜሪካ ኮይና ኣብዚ ፕሮቴስት ጌርና ዝሰምዓና መንግስቲ ኣይነበረን ኣይሰምዓና ነይሩ ብፍፁም ግን ሕጂ እቲ ሓድሽ ኣድሚኒስትሬሽን ዝመፀ ሓድሽ ፅቡቅ ለውጢ እዩ ንሱ ባይደን ፕረዚደንት ባይደን እንታይ ኢሉ ፅሒፈዮ ኣብዚ ኣሜሪካ ተፈቲና ካብ ፈተና ተዓሊታ ወፅያ ዝበለፀ ኣመራርሓ መፅኡ ክብል ይኽእል እዩ እቲ ዝነበረ ግጭት ፀረ ዲሞክራሲያዊ ፕሮቴስት ርኢና ነርና ብኡ ተፈቲና እና ሓይልና ዓዊትና ወፂና ኢሉ እኮ ዲሞክራሲ ተሳዒሩ ኢሉ ካብኡ በቲ ዝነበረ ኣመራርሓ ኣፍሪሶሞ ዝነበሩ ርክባት ምስቶም ዓለም ውድባት ንኣብነት ምስቲ ናይ ዓለም ጥዕና ሓላፊ ዶክተር ተድሮስ ዝፈረሰ ርክባት ሓዲሶሞ ክንሕድሶ ኢና ናብኡ ክንምለስ ኢና ክብል ፀኒሑ ውዒሉ እና ቀጥታ እንታይ ገይሩ ፈሪሙ ኣሜሪካ ኣመሊስዋ ናብቲ ውድብ ናብቲ ናይ ዓለም ጥዕና ውድብ መሊስዋ ብቀጥታ ናብ ዘረባ ናብ ተግባር ቀይርዋ ብፍርሚ ማለት እዩ። ስለዚ እቲ ዓለም ዝተፈላለዩ ውድባት ሳናዮም ዘለው እቲ ክስራት እቲ ዓወታትና ገሊፀልኩም ኣለኹ ኣብ መጨረስታ ክብለኩም ዝደሊ መጨረስታ እንታይ ማለት እዩ እንታይ ክብል ደልየ እቶም ሎሚ እቶም ምሳና ዘይነበሩ ኢትዮጵያውያን በህዳር ዓመተ ምህረት ዝሓለፈ ዓመት 2020 ብታህሳስ 2020 ዘይነበሩ ሱቕ ኢሎም ዝነበሩ ኢትዮጵያውያን ሎሚ ንክዛረቡ ብጣዕሚ ዝሕዝን እዩ። ሎሚ እቲ ነገር ምስ ተበቐለ እቲ ዝኸፍአ ምስ ሓለፈ ሕጂ ንክዛረቡ ብጣዕሚ ዝሕዝን እዩ። ከይተኣምንዎም እዞም ሓሰውቲ እዮም እዞም ክንኣምኖም ኣይግባእናን ሓደ ክልተ ንክዛረብ ከም ጅብና ንሪኦ እዚ ጅብና ኣይኮነን እዚ ኣበይ ነይሩ ዝሓለፈ 2-3 ወርሒ ስቃይ ህዝብና ኣብ ዓለም ፈሊጥዎም ከሎ ኣበይ ነይሮም እዞም ኣሕዋትና ኣብ ኢትዮጵያ ዝቕመጡ ኣበይ ነይሮም? ስለዚ ብሱር ከይትሽወዱ ብጃኹም ጀጋኑ ተጋሩ ከይትሽወዱ እዚኣቶም ኣሕዋትና ኣይኮኑን እዮም ናብኦም ከይትዛረቡ ሓይልኩም ጉልበትኩም ሓሳብኩም ምስ እዚኣቶም ንክትካራኸሩ ከይትውዕሉ ብጃኹም ስለዚ ወዲአ ኣለኹ ደሓን ኣለኹም ቀፅልዎ ብደገ ብውሽጥን ንዕወት ኣለና ብጀካ እቲ ጢሜት ፈትሐናን መለስ ዜናዊ ተጋራለጅና ዝበሎ ሞት እና ጢሜት ኣይፈትሐናን ንሕና ተጋሩ ጀጋኑ ንዕወት ኢና ትግራይ ትዕውት በቃ ወዲአ ኣለኹ ማይክ ውሰድ
ያነለይማ በቃ ታንክ ዩ ከበር ጌርካ ኢኻ ያው ተኸታተልና ፕሮግራምና በእንግሊዝኛ እዩ መብዛሕትኡ ግዜ ነመሓላልፎ ኩሉ ግዜ ግን መጨረሻ ኻ እቲ ቋንቋና ምንታን ከይንርስዖ ዘኽብረና ዘኽርዐና ቋንቋና ትግርኛ ናይ ሃገርና ምስ ህዝብና ጎኒ ትግራይ ህዝቢ ኣብ ዓለም ዘሎ ትግራዋይ ብምሉኡ በተለይ ኣብ ኢትዮጵያ ግፍዒ ዝረክብ ዘሎ ህዝቢ ትግራይ ኣየኹም ኣብ ጎንኹም ኣለና ኢና ኣሕዋት ንሕና ነፍሲ ወከፍ መናእሰይ ኣብ ሰሜን ኣሜሪካ ዘለና ተጋሩ ግሓትን ለይትን እንተይዕረፍና ንህዝብና ንሃገርና ብዓቕምና ብፖለቲካ ብካሊእ ነገራት እውን ብገንዘብ ብኩሉ ነገር ንዘጋጆ ኣለና ኢና ናይ ዓለም መንግስታት ንሕና በቃ ብዓቕምና ሕጋዊ ዘይኮነ ግፍዕታት ብህዝቢ ናይ ትግራይ ዝእሰሩ ብማእሰርቲ ይርደአና ኣሎ እዩ ትሳቀዩ ከም ዘለኹም ንፈልጥ ኢና ግን ኣየኹም ሞራልና ክትንክፉ ሞራልኩም ክትንክፉ ከዋድቑ ኢሎም ተቐተሉ ኣያታትና ብኦ ኣይኮነን ሓደ መራሒ ክኽተል ካሊእ መራሒ ዝፍጠር ሓደ ተጋዳላይ ክስዋዕ ካሊእ ተጋዳላይ እዩ ዝወፅእ ስለዚዩ ሞራልና ኣይትንክፍዎን እዮም ንሕና ድሕሪ ሒዚ ተዓወቲ ተጋሩ ኢና ስለዚዩ ኣዮና ኣብ ጎንኹም ኣለና ኢና ተጋሩ ኣሕዋት ድሓን ሕደሩ ድሓን ዋዕሉ ኣብ ዓለም ዘለኹም ኣየኹም ብሓደ ኢና
I love this song, man. Keep it up forever. Woman, what to fulfill? Ababa Tesfa. Tapete. Jigna. Long live Melon.
That was good. So I'm going to see you again.
I agree. Once,
I'm going to.
Yeah, just hit me up. I'm free to talk about Tigray.
Well, always, as always. So I think we have. Let's see. Well, we'll figure something out.
Okay.
هو حل بيقوله أيهم نادنا
كنا عرفنا جوكو Hey, this is hello. This is actually my auntie, so that doesn't count. This is my sister. I was 4. Thank you, Madonna.
All right. Good night. Thank you all. We love you. Appreciate you for joining us tonight. We'll be back again.
Thanks for support.
Tigray will be victorious. Yes. I couldn't help not to post that one, last one there. Thank you, Tigist Lamlam. I think that's how you pronounce his
Niela.
name. Niela,
Anti
thank you.
Waro. Oh. Magpinas Jugnawit. Gual Santiago. Gual Duo. Garet every Duo. Good night.
Remember, don't feed the enemies like the
Yeah,
foreign
what's up?
key.